Yeah, so Threadless is a community-based design company. Artists all around the world submit designs to us. They get rated by our members. We have about 2 million members. And then the best ones we take into production. So we've been doing it mostly on t-shirts for the past 10, 12 years, but now we print on a handful of other products as well. Um, and every week we come out with new products. The artists get paid $2,000 cash plus $500 gift certificate when their product launches, and then additional royalties for every time we reprint it. Yeah, that's basically how the company works and how it's worked since we've started. Yeah, so the unique part of our business is that all of our products are made by our community. Um, so for every 1,000 or so designs that get submitted to Threadless, we print one of them. We've had 400,000 designs submitted by 200,000 artists over the years. And that's just the artist part of the community. There's also people who vote on the designs, comment on them, critique them, just hang out on the site along the way. And um, every product that we make comes from our community in that fashion, both the artists, the voters, and everything. Yeah, I do. I think it's starting to even get adopted by really large businesses. You look at a lot of businesses are starting to at least engage with their fans on Facebook and Twitter. Um, but there's a lot of other stuff that's happening, taking it even to the next level. I think, with crowdsourcing, that's one thing, and mass customization seems to be pretty popular right now for products. Like you can go buy Nike shoes with whatever colorway that you want, and just ways to get your customers involved in the process. I mean, I think Nike is another example with the thing you can get for your shoes that tracks where you're running, and then you can share that with friends. And um, the internet's just a really great tool to connect people all around the world, and businesses are using that. Well, for me, it did have a very, I guess, tangible ROI right from the start. But if you're an existing business trying to, create a community around your business, I think the way you should look at that is a little bit more long term. I guess it has to do more. I think you're building loyalty in your customers, and you're basically building customer retention by creating a community. So, um, one example I give for the value of this is that we actually prefer that if somebody comes to Threadless and does something, I prefer that they score a design than buy a shirt, because the people who score designs get ingrained in the whole process, the participation, they come back more regularly, they make more purchases in their lifetime. Um, and I mean, they make like 3 or 4 more purchases in their lifetime, or 3 or 4 times as many purchases if they're involved in the community and the process of how we make our products. Um, so I think when you have people actually taking time out of their lives to be a part of your community, be an active member of a community that's led by your business, your brand, um, you're creating lifetime customers. I think you need to have a legitimate reason for somebody to want to be a member of your community, and you have to understand that this is like their personal life, right? Like they're not professionally going to your business to to grow their career. It's more about this is how I want to spend my off time. I'd like to do things within this community, you know. So I think the best way to do it is to be your own community member and build something that you would actually want to participate in. I mean, that's the way that you can best know whether or not it's an exciting thing to be a part of. We do have a community manager here, but also, most of our staff participates within our community as well. Just because it's an engaging thing to do. Like it's fun going through all these inspiring designs and voting on them and talking with the community members about the things they're working on. So, yeah, that's one thing. Another thing is I think you should think about it as what rather than like what value can a community bring your company. It's more like what value can your company bring the community. We think a lot that way. Like we think about a lot of the partnerships that we do, or the products that we print on, or just like the way we produce our products. Is this a great opportunity for an artist? Is this something that's exciting to our artist community? Is this something that provides value to them? And I think doing stuff like that really helps to ensure that they're trusting you what you're doing. Like the community doesn't want to feel like they're being taken advantage of, obviously. Well, a lot of times it doesn't have to be necessarily that they're directly interacting with your brand. Like going back to the Patagonia example we were talking about before, the community, that they are going after are all these outdoor sports enthusiasts, and the thing that they're offering for them is a great product for the whatever their adventure that they're going on. It's not like they're climbing the mountain for Patagonia, but they're climbing it for themselves, and Patagonia is involved in that process. Like that, Patagonia has kind of like positioned themselves as part of that lifestyle, and they celebrate that community. They go with them, and they take photos, and they talk about it to their customers, and they showcase all these athletes, and so. That's another example. Like, it doesn't have to. You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't feel like you want to convert every single customer into a community member. It's more like, yeah, what's the purpose of your company? What are you doing for them? And even if just by doing that, other customers who may not ever become a member of that community may be attracted to your brand just because that community exists.
So it seems like another principle is focusing on the long-term relationship rather than a short-term conversion, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess like always celebrating what's happening within your community for the people who may not be in it too.
Can you give an example of how you've done that?
So every design that we've ever printed, we print the name of the person who made it inside the tag. We put it on the product page, and we always tell the story of how a product is made, and like even though you're not a member of that community, it's cool to see that this t-shirt was made by somebody within a community. Like it humanizes the brand a lot more. Yeah, I mean, that's something that we did. I don't think it's necessarily required to build a community, but it is a good way to get people involved, like spending, like you said, spending that personal time doing this stuff. You look at things that people are already doing in their personal time, and you can build things on top of that that um, help make those things more productive. Like a lot of people who, like what we were saying in the other interview is you have people who go home from their jobs and they make jewelry or they bake bread or they draw or whatever it is. Um, and there's services that have been kind of built around these hobbies, like Etsy is now an opportunity. I can sell that jewelry online to the entire world. I'm not restricted to my local craft fair or wherever, or just giving it to friends or whatever you did. You have all these new opportunities that are being built around existing communities. Um,
Hmm.
I think even there's a website called Foodsy that allows people who make food to, it's kind of like Etsy for food.
Yeah.
Threadless is a great opportunity for artists. I even think like Kickstarter can fall into this category a little bit, where you have all these people making things, but Kickstarter allows them to raise funds and do the thing that they're trying to do in a more meaningful or bigger way. To me, the reason we do the financial side of it is more because if we didn't, we'd feel like we're taking advantage, you know? But I think people would participate anyway. It's just since we're making money from these products in the end, we should be paying people
Yeah. Yeah.
for the work. Um, but yeah, people are really participating. When I first started Threadless, you didn't get any money. You got a couple free T-shirts, and then it was like $50 and some free T-shirts, then 100, then 150, 250. Like it slowly built over the years to 2,000. And it's more just a reflection of where we're at, like how big we are as a company and how much we can
Yeah.
realistically pay. Um, but yeah, at least in the case of Threadless, where the stuff that people are creating, it's artwork, right? Like it's not us saying we need a Threadless logo for the next shirt. It's just what do you think would look cool on a shirt, and they submit it. Um, so what really motivates them is getting their personal artwork out there and seen by thousands or hundreds of thousands and millions of people. Um,
So that's the biggest value providing in some ways is you have this huge marketing. You're a marketing channel in some ways for this artwork.
Yeah. And some people are more motivated. Like there's a small subset of the community that is like 100% motivated by the money, but the majority of our artists are motivated by the exposure. Um, even they're like a lot of them don't expect to get printed.
Right.
They submit just so that people will vote on it and talk about it in the.
Hmm. Interesting.
So it's like the reason I started Threadless was on this forum called Dreamless, where there were all these artists submitting design or posting designs to the forum with no, like there was not even the possibility that that this artwork would get made into anything, or that that they could even get any money from it. They were just making this art to post it so that people on the forum would see it. And I think just that value that I initially gave to the artist, that I'm going to make like I'm going to make t-shirts out of the art that you guys are posting up, and all of us will be able to have it. That was enough added value to get people to participate. That's it. Like, it doesn't have to be a lot starting out. It's just, how can you take what's happening and make it just a little bit more meaningful by adding some kind of next step to it of what can happen with our efforts. I think there's a lot of different ways. We've built the, the first 8 years of our business, we didn't do a single advertisement. It was all organic growth, all driven by word of mouth. And I think there's two main drivers of that. One is the business model of having artists submit designs and then printing the best ones. The artists are very motivated to spread the word about their designs after they submit it, tell all their network to go vote on it. Some of those people end up designing products, and and it just snowballs from there. The other thing is just doing something really innovative and unique, and like word of mouth will spread if there's something worth talking about, right? So it's about this is Seth Godin talks a lot about this too. Marketing is the result of an amazing product.
So, how do you? Because I feel like that's that's an idea. Let me take a step back. One thing we really want to do is make everything actionable, and I completely agree with the idea. You want to create something remarkable that people will talk about and share, but in practice, that's extremely, extremely difficult, and you have to do many different iterations, in many cases. How can we make it so that people can hear that statement, but then make something remarkable that people want to?
I mean, I don't think there's really a formula that you can follow. I think that you I guess for me, I don't know, this is going to be different for different people, but for me, it's like I said, building a community that I'd want to be a part of. I think it's about finding something that you personally would be excited about and putting it out there, and with the excitement that you have. And I don't know, you can't I don't think it can be done very well by just looking at a potential market opportunity, really. I think it's more about finding something that's personally really exciting to you, and then figuring it out and doubling down on it and just pushing. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I started my business as a hobby. I never expected it to grow, but it did. It was something that I was very passionate about, and it solves a problem in my life. And it's stupid because it's teenage angsty kind of stuff that the problem I had was. Are you still there? Sorry, it's kind of steep. Okay. Um, which is I hated seeing people walking around with corporate logos on their chests. My only option for wearing a shirt that said anything about me was maybe like a band shirt that said, "This is a band I listen to." And I wanted to create something that t-shirts are just a great place to share something with the world about yourself. Like, you can just be walking down the street and a stranger can see what you have, what you're wearing, or what's on your shirt, and get an idea of who you are. Not like you can buy artwork for your walls in your house, but not everybody comes to your house. And so I really wanted this thing, and apparently there were a lot of other people in the world that did too, and that's why it became a product that people were wanting to talk about and share with each other.
And when you think about your initial market of people you want to target, do you really think about your target market is most people who will be most passionate about the people who are at the fringe of the community. Like I grew up playing tennis, and like at the fringe of the community, you like really have to have your grip the right way, and your
Yeah.
strings have to be new at the right tension, the right width, and your shoes. And if you don't have your shoes the right way, you feel are those the kind of people that you it's best to build a community around originally?
Um, yeah, I think honing in on some specific, it could be the opposite where you have just these like people who are road bikes, go road biking all the time, but they refuse to wear the uniform that everybody has to wear. Where it
Hmm.
could be the opposite, where it's not the expert, it's like the renegade. But I think honing in on a specific user like that makes sense, and it's best if that user's yourself too. And
Yeah.
and then that doesn't mean that everybody who buys from you has to fall into that category, right? It's just that they have to be attracted to that idea.
Hmm.
One example is this thing we started called 15 Megs of Fame that was a music community, and it was for independent artists to go upload their songs. They get voted on, and then we tried to find opportunities for the best musicians on the site, like get them signed or get them gigs or whatever it was. But
Right.
we kind of failed because we had a lot of trouble making the opportunities come to life. Um,
Hmm.
so we tried to get in with labels, trying to get them to commit to signing X acts per quarter or X acts per year or whatever. Um, but I don't know, it was kind of like a weird time in the music industry that we started that, and and we also have always been extremely scrappy. Like we never hire anybody unless we're just it's incredibly painful to continue doing it ourselves.
Right.
And
Right.
I think if we would have hired a few people, like a few biz dev kind of people to go in and make those relationships and not try to do it ourselves on top of doing threadless and everything else, we probably could have made that happen. But um, yeah, we shut it down a few years back.
So that was a big thing. The big lesson there was you have to have your incentives right for people in order for people to participate.
Yeah, you got to be able to. And I've always dived into stuff thinking I'll be able to figure it out along the way. Like we talked about it before. That's one puzzle I couldn't solve.
How about another failure in community?
So sometimes when we launch new features on the site, almost 100% of the time there's backlash, right?
Really?
Yeah, I mean the community wants things the way they are, and change is really hard for communities to adapt to typically, right? So one thing, like after doing that a few times, and I wouldn't say we failed at it. Like usually if we do a change, it evens out after a few weeks. Everybody forgets it ever happened. But what we really strive to do now is whenever we make a change, we take the granular bits of feedback and actually we kind of like set aside a week after a new feature's launched to iterate on it based on community feedback.
So you
Um,
you account for error in launching something.
yeah, and I wouldn't say that it's even necessarily an error a lot of times. It's more that the community wants to be a part of the change. So we try to involve the community before
Interesting.
we even make it if we can. But just so long as they can see that their requests turn into action is huge. Like it doesn't oftentimes actually have anything to do with whether the change was right or wrong. It's more that the
Closing that
involvement.
feedback loop, like they feel like they're part of it.
Yeah. Well, so another one would be we started this company called Naked and Angry, that's kind of like Threadless except for patterns. So you submit a tiling pattern, like a flannel, or I mean
Huh.
a plaid, or whatever the pattern is, and then we make products from the patterns.
Like what
And we
products?
made, well, we started out with ties, and then we did
Oh,
like
interesting.
wallpaper and dish sets, and um, we've done umbrellas and handbags and wallets and all kinds of things. Um, but I think it would have been better if we called it Threadless Patterns, and we launched it under Threadless. We had the same community there. Um, and or it would have been better if we launched each of these with a partner. Like we find the best tie company and we do a threadless patterns challenge for Pink or Thomas Pink or whatever. And
Right, right,
the pattern gets made into a Thomas Pink tie. And that's what
right.
we're doing now. We did a challenge with Stephen Allen, a fashion designer out of New York, and he made a dress and a set of dress for women and boxers for men out of the patterns that came
Oh,
in.
interesting.
And it was, yeah, a huge success. Whereas Naked and Angry, it was hard for us to. First of all, we're like separating it off as a totally separate brand. Even if you've heard of Threadless, you've probably never heard of Naked and Angry. We weren't able to really cross promote, leverage Threadless for this new brand. And
Did you try sending out any emails to the Threadless list?
yeah, we did a few things like that, but never really. The other
You
problem
think?
was that
Go.
the products were so all over the place, and um, like if you're looking for an umbrella, you're probably not going to go to Naked and Angry for one. Um,
Hmm.
and we were only launching like one new product every quarter or so, so we didn't have the frequency that we needed to be able to support a multi-varied product offering
Yeah.
like that. One other thing that's been hard is we started another sub brand called OMG Clothing a long time ago. And instead of submitting designs, you submit slogans. Uh, and the best slogans we designed ourselves into shirts with the words on them. And we we didn't kill that off, but we moved it to threadless and called it type tees. So it was like threadless type tees. And we still do that today where people can submit slogans, score them, but we haven't really been making products out of them for a while now because um, the barrier to submitting a slogan is obviously way lower than submitting a design. And we've had I mean, almost 100 million slogans
Oh,
submitted.
really?
Yeah, and you don't get as many scores per slogan as you get per design.
Ah,
It's
interesting.
just been impossible for us to find the good stuff, basically. So sift
Yeah.
through all those slogans and finding which ones are worth printing. And for the first part of the company, when it was only like 100,000 or so slogans submitted, uh, some of our best-selling shirts ever are from that time. But now we just can't find this stuff anymore. So what we're doing though is we're adding a collaboration feature to Threadless when you submit a design. So multiple people will be able to submit one design,
Interesting.
and so and then we'll set it up so that a slogan creator can team up with a designer and submit the
Ah,
slogan
okay.
as a design together, and then split the prize and all that.
So it seems like there's just general principles of, um, let's say, get the rewards and curation and voting. But in order for that to work, these other things have to be right. So there has to be enough content where good stuff is coming up, but not too much where you can't curate it, and there has to be enough reward for anything else. And it's interesting. I guess those are the general principles, and then how they're applied determines if it's successful or not.
Yeah, yeah, that all jives with me. Well, one other thing that has came up a few times in talking to other companies about this is a lot of them are scared of the community doing something they wouldn't like, or um, one really good example is this guy who owns like the number one sunroof manufacturer in the world was at some thing that I was at, and we were talking about building a community, and he was talking about. I was asking if there's anybody actually like passionate about sunroofs, and um, he talked about them as if they were just complete lunatics. Like, what did he called them freaks or something? Like, yeah, there's like all these freaks that will just take a sawzall and cut a hole out of their roof, and
Yeah.
you know, the roof of their car. And to me, it seems like those are the kind of people that you should be celebrating. Like,
Yeah.
uh, they're probably doing crazy stuff that you're gonna actually see at some point and probably develop into a product, you know? Like maybe they found some cool new way of building a sunroof or, you know?
Yeah.
Uh,
They should almost look at it like it's a huge opportunity because if someone's willing to like destroy their car to
yeah.
do this thing, like they'd be willing to pay for someone else to have it do
Yeah. And I mean, I really like Lego does a lot of really cool stuff with the community of Lego builders.
it.
And some of the stuff you probably like when they take multiple sets, mix it together, and make something completely different out of it,
Huh,
um,
interesting.
and then you can post that stuff up on Lego's site, and that you can even they have a site you can go to where you can submit a Lego thing that you've assembled out of pieces, and then they may even take that into production. Um,
Interesting. So similar even principle
yeah,
to
but I
that
could
what
see
you
other
do.
companies maybe getting scared of people using their products the wrong way,
Right.
but they're celebrating it. A lot of times our features are born from that. Like a good example
Mm.
would be we have a forum, so a lot of artists were posting their works in progress in the forum, getting feedback and stuff before they submitted into the challenge.
Yeah.
So we saw that happening a lot. So then we built a separate critique section that's made for that process of, you know, like your works in progress, and um, you can vote on critiques like this needs
Interesting.
work, this is ready to submit, you know, that kind of thing.
And there's and that goes to this idea of feature creep, where when you're building a community and the community grows, I'm sure you get a million different ideas on how people will think that you should grow threadless.
Yeah.
How do you think about what things to add that you will really have value and
Yeah, we get a lot of feature requests, and more it's about, I think we think about it by thinking about what uh, motivated them to make that request, like what's wrong with our current system that they would think that we need this, and then come up with our
right.
own real, you know, solution to that. And a lot of times it's rather than adding another feature on top, it's just kind of like a slight tweak to the way things currently are, that solves the problem with a different solution. I think Etsy is a great example where
Yeah.
they have a great forum that the sellers can share advice with each other. And, they also do a lot of really great real world events, um, like uh, craft fairs and like do it yourself type events where you go and make stuff collaboratively with other Etsy members. Um, there's some others. I think Kickstarter
Yeah.
is pretty good at community building.
What do you think they did really well?
I think they do a good job of stepping out of the way between Kickstarter person in the backers, I guess. Like
Hmm.
I really like how they set up the notification system where when, say I start up a Kickstarter and you back me, I can communicate to you directly. I can send you an update, an email update on where I'm at with the project. And
Oh,
um,
interesting. So you build your list by people backing you.
yeah, that's actually another, that leads me to another, I guess, main point I would give is kind of like, don't make the connection about you to the customer. It's more about connecting your customers.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of the people on Threadless who come back every day and are involved in the community, they're not doing it to like show me what they're up to. They're doing it to show their 50 other friends within the community what they're up to. It's about, um, yeah, getting out of the way and letting them all do their thing, giving them the tools to do that. Well, I think it's about the connection, like the going back to what we were originally talking about, where this is something that these people are devoting part of their personal life to, and that's typically not going to be just a communication channel with the partner, right? It's about something that your interest, like one of your interests, this expounds on or something. Um, and chances are that same thing is going to happen for other people, and that's what people are going to get connected around. I think nonprofit organizations are a good framework to look at because people are connecting with them not because of the brand. It's not about like American Cancer Society. It's about cancer and being able to connect around this cause that we're all um, passionate about. And
Great. So,
people,
go.
yeah, people aren't getting involved in that community to um, have some sort of connection with American Cancer Society, the brand. They're getting involved to because of the other people that are
When you were
affected.
when you were first building your music startup or the patterns idea, how did you go about building that initial community when people
Um,
didn't know each other?
well, the common interest is design, right? So people are wanting to communicate and bounce ideas off each other and share what they've created there. Um, and then the unique thing that we brought in is that we'll turn these designs into things that we can all have. So the reason they came, like saying we're going to talk about design is one thing, but the unique thing we were able to offer that community um, set us up to be a destination spot for people with that interest. Well, so most of my interests in building companies and stuff are around a product, like a consumer product. Because I have very like logical kind of common sense way of thinking about a business where I have a product I'm going to sell, I guess. That's easiest for me to wrap my mind around it. So I guess I would think about what the product is that I want to build around this. Maybe it's,
So you would think
it,
right to like a consumer product,
well,
tangible
maybe
product.
that's what I personally would probably think to right away. But for the purposes of this, I would think it would make more sense to offer some sort of like a service for entrepreneurs that provides them value. Maybe it's a product. Like I can think of some good products really that would fit under that. I think or that exist now. Um, like Behance has done a really good job of like they have their these kind of they're like these notebooks, action books I think they're called.
Huh,
Um,
interesting.
which to me it's about, it's not exactly entrepreneur, but it falls within that category. Like it would definitely be appealing to entrepreneurs. But so maybe there is some kind of a tangible consumer product to build around it. Like just something that would make entrepreneurs' lives a lot easier and um, be like an asset, like something that they need that they can't imagine running their business without, you
Hmm.
know? Well, I think that the point in building a community is to create something valuable for them.
Yep.
And if it's valuable for them, I feel like it should be valuable enough for them that they'd want to pay for it. And
Yeah.
so I think it's a good litmus test, maybe even two, to make sure that the service is worth worthy of payment or the
So
product.
how would you go around, you know, taking action from these general things to find out if it's enough valuable? Let's just go with the this action notebooks idea. Pretend that Behance doesn't exist.
Right. Um, I would say, man, it's really hard to get things done. I think 37 Signals is a good example of this too, where with their Basecamp product,
Yeah.
I mean, Action notebooks in a way are kind of like the tangible version of Basecamp, where um, let's make it a lot easier to manage all these things on our plate and figure out, you know, what I need to be doing each day exactly, you know, and, just an easier way to get things done and stay organized as a business owner. Um, so what's interesting about the community side, I mean, both Basecamp and Action Books have strong communities around them.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of the value that those were able to provide to them that's worth talking about. Like a lot of people who hear about Basecamp hear about it because somebody else uses it and it's really helpful in their lives. That's the way I heard about Action Books is somebody else used it
Was
and told
swearing
me
by
about
it.
it. Yeah. So
Would you
um,
use like a principle that Jason Fried at 37 Signals use about as their would you create a blog about tips and tricks on how to be more efficient with your time and get things done and build a community around that general idea? And then here's your product that helps that.
yeah, that's definitely something that I would do if I was, you know, building a community around that is um, becoming a resource, you know, for the subject matter. Like the people, if they're searching up how do I stay more organized, chances are they're going to find advice that you've given, you know, through your blog, and then they start finding about your product, and then they start getting involved in the community, commenting in the blog. They use your other services too. I mean, it's just, yeah. Yeah, what's nice about the internet is it's global. You know, the community that I started the company within was all around the world, and actually London was the number one city that we shipped to for the first 4 years we were in business, even outside of any city in the U.S. Like more than, and we're based in Chicago. And today we ship to about 60% of our orders go outside the U.S. We've shipped to 160 countries last year. I think the point is that it's we're not restricted to local anymore. That's what enables us to build communities within such niche groups like t-shirt designers. We can get 200,000 people excited about t-shirt design because we're not restricted to Chicago.
how would you begin thinking about those beginning steps of building community? What platform would you use to post a blog? Would you start a blog? Would you do a discussion board? Would you create a Facebook group, Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely do all that. I would get out on all the services. We still find that extremely valuable now. Like Instagram, we got on right away, and we've already built up 140,000 followers on Instagram. We're one of the most
Interesting.
followed brands on there, and I think it's not just about the big ones, right? It's good to adopt the new platforms early
Even
on.
like Pinterest? Are you on Pinterest?
Yeah, we've got a few thousand followers on there, but especially when it's a new service that starts up that's relevant to your business, you know, like if you're in this notebook business, I don't know what what it would be. I'm really bad at coming up with examples, but I would definitely be keeping on top of the startup scene and getting my brand out on any of the platforms that are out there. Um, there's another notebook company called Field Notes that does really great community building. Um, they're half in Chicago and half in Portland, but they just launched this like museum of pocket notebooks, and you can go on and see thousands and thousands of the basically the exact same product that they make, except made by competitors, and they made a gallery of them all to. And
So I mean, I guess to me that goes us back to this idea of building something for the the weirdos, the people
yeah,
who would care enough about notebooks that they'd actually want to look at a museum of different types of notebooks.
right. And yeah, becoming a part of the like if you're going to start a notebook company, yeah, get in front of all the people that are extremely passionate about it, and they're the ones that are going to be the best at spreading the word. They're going to be your early adopters and your most vocal customers, and going to give you great feedback too. Uh, yeah, it's good to have the people that are almost smarter than you are in the industry telling you what you're doing wrong. That's hugely valuable. I think I would, like in the case of a notebook, I would probably develop the product. Um, I mean, if it was a threadless, we could maybe do like a design challenge for the designs on the notebook. But the way I would think to integrate community would be to do challenges where you're filling the notebook with drawings or um, diagrams or whatever it is, and posting up how you used the notebook. Um, they just did a great Field Notes did a great video for they did a special notebook for Valentine's Day, and I think somebody in the community made a whole notebook into a card that they gave to their Valentine, and so then they took it a step further and produced this video, this really elaborate Valentine's Day field notebook that was made by a guy giving it to his girlfriend. It's an amazing video, actually, if you check it out, and it just shows, really humanizes. This is how people are using the notebook in interesting ways. Gets
That's really
people,
interesting.
yeah, it's pretty neat.
So you're celebrating people. It's not just say like, hey, they're a great person, but like sometimes here's a really innovative thing that they did, showcasing their work.
Yeah, yeah, showcasing the community's usage of your product. I mean, you know, I think that's great too, right? Like it doesn't necessarily have to grow. I mean, um, maybe that's the right size for that type of community. But I think salsa generally could be connected at a much larger level through some sort of online community. It'd be great. One of the things that's really neat about being a member of this design community for however many years is I can go to, like, I travel to any city and there's somebody else interested in design t-shirt design that I can go hang out with that night and have a beer, you know? And the same should exist for salsa. If you're really into that, get connected to a network larger. Like, sure, where you're going every week is you're going and you're dancing at the local club, but if you do end up traveling somewhere else, you know, the community is bigger than just local. You can, and then you can start connecting to them. And maybe once you start building, if you build a network between the sub local communities, other things come from that. You know, like you never know what's gonna, what, I mean, a lot of our success was unintended. It's just that we made it, the connections, we built the thing, and then we kind of we went as we go. Um, you may find you go to this other city, meet up with somebody else interested in salsa, and you end up starting a business together that has to do with the common interest, you know. We do a lot of things that we have no other reason to do it other than it would just be really fun to do this. Um, I I can give a couple examples. One is a bunch of us around the office backed this project on Kickstarter for drink koozies that were made out of sweater material, and because we thought they were really cool, and the guy running it was just this really crazy personality. Um, so since like 20 of us backed it here, he drove up from South Carolina and gave us all a grilled cheese party one day at our office. And then the next thing is we're like, oh, we should do a challenge together. And now we're hosting a design challenge with this company right now. We've had we produced 6 designs from t-shirt designs being translated to this new canvas, and then hosted a design challenge for the next round. And we've had over
so like a
300
mug
designs
basically
submitted
designed.
for it. And then we're talking about getting this thing distributed in places like Urban Outfitters. I mean, it's just, you have no idea, like this, we didn't think we'd be able to make a dime from doing this. It was just, it looked to be really fun. It'd be a fun project for our artist community to work on. Who knows, maybe it would turn into something, maybe it would flop. But it's not going to turn into anything if you don't do it. Another example is a new craft brewery here in Chicago came to us and they were like, what do you think of collaborating on a beer? And we're like, oh, that sounds kind of fun. And so he branded it the Threadless IPA. And we just made it in kegs and distributed it to a few bars around Chicago. But it did really well. A lot of people were buying it. So they decided they wanted to can it and distribute it. And I mean, there was no revenue model attached to this one either. It's just, and now you can actually buy Threadless IPA in Whole Foods here in Chicago, and it's a great like brand awareness thing for us here locally in Chicago. Yeah, I forgot what the original question was, but
Those unique things that you do. So
okay, yeah,
is really so building stuff about that you'd be really passionate to do that.
yeah, we don't make all of our decisions based on what the financial outcome is going to be. We make our decisions more about in keeping our community excited about what we're doing. And it's really cool for these artists to have the opportunity of designing like a can for Threadless for a Threadless beer. That's, I mean, they get more excited about that than some of the more commercial challenges that we may run, you know. Yeah, I mean, I think just basic difference is that Twitter is such a stream. Like, not everybody reads everything.
Right.
Very little people read everything. Whereas Facebook just seems to be seen by a lot larger group of people. Like each individual post is seen by more people. Even though we have more followers on Twitter, way
Interesting.
more people see our Facebook posts than our tweets.
When you think about leveraging Facebook, do you mainly think, oh, we have to build this great page and build it out? Or do you look at more as like we have to introduce widgets into our existing site that make it people easier to share their designs, for example.
I think right now it's all about the feed, getting and just posting directly onto your Facebook feed. I mean, on pages, you can build those tabs or sub pages out or whatever, but those never really get any visibility in the feed, and that's where everybody is on Facebook. And you can also get stuff into the feed indirect or not through your page, but just getting people to post to their own feeds.
Yeah, yeah. How have you found it? What's the most common ways that people post to their feed through Threadless?
The like button works really well for us on product and submission pages, but there's still a lot of people who just copy and paste a link, into a status update. And the open graph is pretty important to make sure you've got all your pages set up as open graph pages so that when somebody does paste a link, it pulls in a picture and a description and attaches it to your page ID. Like all those connectors are super important.
Anything else like that? I mean, for example, I know that you can create the ability for people to sign on via Facebook and then see which other of their Facebook friends are part of the Threadless. Or is that kind of stuff important to you? Or
yeah, I mean, we want to get more into that. We've been kind of dragging our feet on the following thing because we don't really view Threadless as like a social network, really. But where I do find value in following on Threadless is being able to follow other artists. Like if there's an artist that, I want to be notified if they come out with a new design, or if they submitted a new design, I want to be notified and be able to score it. So we'll be doing more of that stuff here soon, but I don't think that I guess the reason we took so long to do this is we're not just going to add following or add your friend unless we have a relevant reason to do so. So I don't know, for some reason it took us a while to come up with the idea to make it about following other artists' activity. Yeah, I wish I could have our Twitter expert come in here and talk about it, but I think we've had a lot of luck with contests on Twitter. Like having retweet contests. If you retweet this, you'll get entered into a drawing for a free T-shirt. Or
that's a great specific example. So retweet something and you get a prize.
Yeah, we also did just yesterday, I think we did this where we said go to page 6 of our catalog and tweet about your favorite product on page 6, and you'll get 5 people will get that product for free, the one that you tweet about. So little contests are a good way to get people talking on there.
I mean, contests in general, you just seem to be a very big believer in.
Yeah.
What's the best way to do a great contest? What are some of the principles there?
Well, I wouldn't really, I guess, Threadless itself is a great contest because it's not competitive, really. People aren't uploading a design to compete with another design. It's each entry kind of stands on its own and it exists there for its own reasons, and it's more like
you're a winner. It sounds bad, but everyone's a winner, and so you're not trying to make it just all one winner.
Right. Yeah, it's ongoing. You can submit whenever. We regularly choose new designs and find new opportunities for old designs. But for social media, like on Twitter and Facebook, some of the contests we do are a little bit more like blatantly contests, you know? Yeah, that's a definitely a tough one that we think really hard about. Since we have an ongoing challenge, there's not really like a start end date for for like a group of submissions. Each design, when it gets submitted, has its own date from when it's been accepted to when it'll be removed from the site for voting. Um, so we've struggled with how do we do a contest around that when there's no time
Yeah,
component.
right.
So what we have done is like vote on at least 200 designs today, and you'll get entered into a drawing for a gift certificate. But then I don't know. I don't feel like those are very valuable because I feel like a lot of people just go through and vote everything a three or don't put a lot of thought into it.
Right, right.
So we've kind of like backed off on that a little bit. Um, and what we're experimenting with now is we do some time-based challenges, like we have loves challenges and atrium challenges where there's a theme that we'll give our community to design to, and they have until a certain date to do. So,
Hmm.
and then there's special prizes for those. And we're thinking about adding a second tier of prizing for the voting community on those challenges. Um, so artists can win and get their prize, but then there'll also be like if you vote on at least 50 designs within the challenge, you'll get entered into the voter prize. But we're
So you're trying to take people from, oh, I'm just here to vote for my friend, to browse. Is that the kind of, you're trying to get them to browse and be a part of the community?
yeah, and we want to attach some sort of voting, like how close to the actual chosen design were you in your voting? Uh,
Oh, so like, oh, you can win as a voter if you choose that design that wins.
yeah, it's like voting accuracy, the most accurate voter.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool. That's all. I've never heard of that.
Could be fun. Yeah, you want to be careful not to make it too intrusive, where um, you have to do all kinds of different things to get entered, where you're almost like asking your users to spam all their friends.
But you're giving
Um,
them the option, not requiring it.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think you should try to do that as much as you can within reason, right? Um, I think yeah, the person should want to do the stuff anyway. I don't know. You can't
That's the
always have
key.
the
You can't just do add lots of stuff and people don't want to do it. That the key is making people want to do it.
yeah.
Would you focus more on that then? Like you spend a lot more time thinking about, okay, how do we make this person really want to share it rather than how do we make it
Yeah,
easier for them to share?
because to me, it's not about that spike of activity when the contest's happening. It's a great way to just introduce somebody to participation, and then maybe
Hmm.
they'll continue doing it later. So you want to make it fun enough and not intrusive enough where they're going to want to do it on their own without the contest, too.
Hmm. That's really interesting. So the contest is just a launching point for real ongoing
Yeah,
participation.
yeah, that's what we try to do.
That's a really fascinating. I've never heard, as basic as it sounds, I've never heard of contests as like just a way of building community to jumpstart a community.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worked well for us. I mean, we do notice when we do a voting challenge, like our voting will be here, we'll see a big spike, but then when it comes back down, it'll be a little bit higher. And same thing with sales, especially in the early years. We noticed whenever we did a big sale, our sales would be do a big sale, it would be like a word of mouth. The sale would be so exciting that people would, tell their friends about it. And then we end up getting a whole bunch of new customers during that sale time. I mean, starting out, since I would be probably bootstrapping the company, I would definitely be looking to build build the community for the long term value. Um, I would produce a very small amount of product starting out so that I can easily um, sell it. Um, and I would not focus really strongly on selling a whole bunch of products right away. I would focus on, selling enough to continue to run the business, but more about organically building the community. I think things are going to get more and more niche. Um, and more distributed into specific little things that people want to connect with. I think I don't know if I said this in our first interview or the second, but I think we're coming out of the culture now with the um, like mass consumerism and mass adoption of things to now like a much more granular um, set of companies that are each um, solving different needs that are very unique to the individual. Like I think people are wanting to show something unique about themselves. And a lot of like especially in the youth right now, it's like everybody wants to be their own person, do their own thing. Um, so I think we'll see more and more companies starting up that go after those individual unique needs. So the future of community building, I think, yeah, it's going to be a whole bunch of little ones, but that are big.
I mean, when you think about artists, that's just one niche,
It's
but there's a million different niches within artists based on, like, let's
right.
say their motivations or the type of art they do. How do you think about having the right niche so that you're not too specific and you're not too general and you can create that?
Well, I think you can be very, very niche and attract a huge audience. That's what's kind of like because before I think when like you're a local business, you have to attract a larger group of people. But now that the world's much smaller, um, you can focus on a niche and become a very big business.
Your inclination when somebody's just starting thinking out is focus on that small niche and then
Yeah,
grow from there.
yeah, I think so. I think you can, even though you're solving a problem for a niche too, you can still get other people excited about that who may not be 100% in it. Like I guess maybe comic books is a good example where you have like a lot of comic books are made for the people that go to the Comic Con every year, right?
Interesting.
But there's a lot more people out there that read them or watch the TV show if it gets adopted, or um, yeah. I don't think you're necessarily giving up a huge market when you focus on a niche.